Ah, the Goodwill. That was a good trip that day. I filled my van with my cheval mirror, my things for my thrift flip, and got this little table for $6.99. As usual, I begin with a cleaning. I'm just using Dawn power spray and wiping it back with a wet cloth. Love this treatment whenever people lose a handle and they replace it with two knobs, but hey, it works. I'm filming, so I'm one-handed. I forget that I'm turning the opposite direction, so I get it eventually. I primed the top of the piece with Bonding Boss since it was very slick. I'm a brand ambassador for Made by Marley, and I am checking out these papers. I'm looking at the patterns that are called Rave and Wonderland Toile. These two really aren't related, but I think the colors and the raven kind of make them cohesive. But I'm going to make it work because there's enough turquoise in this one that we can pull it through if I put a little bit of that other blue in there. So I have an idea for this handle, and I'm using amazing casting resin, and I don't have a raven, so I'm using a big hummingbird, and I have to really modify it through the entire process to get it to look somewhat like a raven. I pour the, I also considered a rabbit too, because of course that's a big Alice in Wonderland theme, and there is some small bunnies on the Wonderland Toile paper. But the concept is I'm pouring the resin, and when it gets a little bit hard, I put in the two machine screws for the knobs. This was my first trowel run, and I had to do a lot of trimming. It was not a good mix. So finally, I kind of got that process down. So now I am just kind of looking how I'm going to place these papers on top of the table. So they don't really match up, as you can see when you look at the flowers, but I'm going to focus on the frame around the watch. And then that is going to be how we match it up. I'm using Mod Podge to decoupage it on. And of course, I'm paying special attention around those edges because I go over everything, of course, and made sure it was down completely as wrinkle-free as possible because I'm going to be doing some painting, hand painting to make the top look like an entire design, even though it's only kind of partial. I begin by filling in the raven's wings. That's a good place to start. And I can always go back over that with some lighter paint to kind of carry on the feather look. But this is a good place to start. And as you will watch, I also do the same thing throughout with the flowers and everything else just to kind of paint out that top. So here's how my raven's looking. I've never seen the raven's wings like that, and I'm also concerned that they might not quite fit in the drawer. So you'll see how I end up modifying that. But for now, I continue to paint out this design. I also use some Savannah Mist, which is a color that I feel like is predominant in the Wonderland Toile paper. And I'm just getting that top portion because I want to inset the Wonderland Toile paper in there, and I want it to go right up against that area and the legs. Not exactly sure how I'm going to paint out the legs, but for now, this is where I'm beginning. So I am cutting the toile paper, just using my fingernail as a guide. And I have a guest videographer named Lainey helping me. She is 7 years old, and I think she did a really good job. As we watch Barbie videos, we continue to film and paint. I am also dipping into the caviar, and I'm using the same brush. I know, how sinful. I am contaminating paint all over the place, but I just want kind of a smoky finish, and it ends up being a kind of gray, but you can still see areas where the Savannah Mist and also the caviar are prevalent. So it kind of goes from light at the top to dark at the bottom. I return to work on the top of the table, and I have to mix my yellow, and I add a little, the color's called Daisy, and I add a little caviar to it to darken it up to match the tone better that's already in the paper. Then I mixed some blue in with that to make it a little more green. And just as I suspected, that drawer wasn't going to shut. So I clipped his wings and reconfigured them, and now they have to dry. I'm using Dixie Belle's new gold marker and going around the top of the piece, as well as those areas underneath where I applied the Wonderland Toile on the skirt of the table. So this marker is kind of new, so I'm experimenting with it. You have to press down on the tip. It has a chisel tip, and you press down on it every now and then. This area wasn't probably the best for use, but hey, I'm just experimenting and trying it out. I know I have some metallic paint that I could go over with it, but I really like the sheen. But now I'm going to bring it down by using some Van Dyke brown glaze. I go over the gold as well as encroach on the top of the table, and that's especially important. I had already added some splatters of black, and now I'm adding this Van Dyke brown glaze to mimic the face of the clock. The clocks look very rusty, so this is going to kind of mimic that design. Do you remember what this little table looked like before? Now let's have a look at what it looks like now. Hope you like it. Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching today. If you liked this video, how about giving it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Find us on the web at www.statementdesigns.org and on social media as Statement Designs. Stay well.